Hi, folks. This is Luke. I just wanted to give you a quick disclaimer about this episode you're going to listen to just right before it starts. You probably don't know what it is, very likely. In that case, there's some very good explanations about what it is that will be right at the start, but more pressing of what I want to talk to you about is just the audio for this episode leaves something to be desired. And has already been fixed for episode 2. This one has some very good content. I think that everyone who enjoys this show and has listened to all the other episodes will find no problems with it because you listened to us in the early days when we had 1,000 echoes and just clicks and sniffs and clacks and crunches and all these weird, wonderful noises. It's not that horrible of audio. There's some bumps to table. And so just be patient with this episode, and it will not be here in follow-up ones. I hope that all of you enjoy this episode and all the ones like it to come.
Hello and welcome to Conversations Catapults, a show about the hit Dungeons & Dragons podcast, Trials and Trebuchets. I am not your Dungeon Master Luke. I am Nathan, your host and substitute teacher for this chaotic group of 4. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Ben, and I play the level 6 gnome wizard, Winsler Wallaby, on the hit podcast show, Trials and Trebuchets. Whoa!
I didn't know we were a hit, but thank you for thinking we're a hit.
I think we're a hit.
Hi, I'm a hit. Oh, we're all hits. Hi, my name is Carla, and I play the Tiefling Rogue, Integrity Adelberry. Rogueblock, Integrity Adelberry.
Are you good?
Is that it?
Wait, were we supposed to do a full intro?
I did a full intro.
Like,
I don't know about
say
all
that-
of you.
I don't. Sorry, I blanked out and I didn't hear you say wizard. Okay. Hi, my name is Carla, and I play the level 6 Tiefling Roguelock, Integrity Idleberry. Hello.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I play Mira Marchand, the level 6 half-elf bard. I'm so glad that we are a hit podcast now. Come to our live show, which is just like us hanging out and playing D&D, and if someone breaks into our home, then we won't make them leave.
They also get us to play D&D.
I'd be very concerned.
And I'm Sam, and I play the level 6 human sorceress, Saranep Cinderman. Glad to be part of the #1 podcast in the world. There is no debate about it. We got #1. I have a plaque.
We did it!
Damn right, Matt Mercer who?
That's
They will come after us.
I'm kidding. No, you're
No,
us.
listen. Hey, you guys. Yes, indeed. This is a hit podcast now because of the fact that you have an after podcast talk show about your podcast.
That makes us a
starring
hit.
yourselves.
It's official.
You've made it, baby.
Oh, yeah.
You
I think
are
that
2
officially
weeks
when we
away.
made it is when someone else makes a talk podcast about us. It's just like, damn, that TNT episode.
Is this going to be like the after Walking Dead with the after Walking Dead talk show kind of thing happening?
Yes, exactly.
See, I actually host that one on a separate feed for myself. I do have a fan, like Trials and Trebuchets podcast. It gets 0 subscriber.
0 subscriber.
Now, when they make a Conversations and Catapults podcast, that's when we've like really made it. They're like,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
got
We
to
have to
sue
discuss
them
not
because
what
they've
happened in the
stolen the
episodes,
name.
but specifically what the cast talked about in the talk show.
It's just a cycle.
But yes,
Keeps going.
congratulations. You have made it. Your Amazon original is like 2 weeks away. So
Whoa.
like, get excited for animated versions of yourselves. This is going to be great. Well, not yourselves, your characters, but regardless. Yeah. So, my name is Nathan. I'm going to give our listeners who have a bit less of an idea of what's going on than even you all do, which is saying something, apparently. I'm going to give them an idea of what this show is, which is we're here to talk in between recording sessions about what the cast has gone through. This show is divided into 2 parts. One part where I talk with the players about their decisions, and then another part where I take a peek behind the screen with Luke, our benevolent DM, just king of the castle.
Benevolent in quotation.
Yeah, no, he's the reason why I'm able to do this show right now. So, like, I have to say
You
these
have
things
to. It's
in my
it's
contract.
illegal
No.
like binding.
Someone tapping on one of them.
Let me actually pull up my Discord DMs from Luke.
Oh boy.
Let me see here.
Pulling up the
Yep.
notes.
The beautiful golden-haired god, Luke, last name redacted.
Yeah, it's not like it's on the.
Yeah, it's not like it's just there
It's not
for
like it's
all
on the
to see,
podcast
No one
feed.
can know what his name is.
plastered on the internet.
See,
It's a stage name.
here's the issue. Us bringing attention to it now in a podcast episode means that he will have to find a way to change it because people are going to notice now.
Well, he
Oh,
does edit
oh
the
no.
podcast, so he can always edit this out.
The second
Yeah.
you say he can edit this out is when he doesn't edit it out.
Yeah, but this
though.
is good content. He wouldn't
It's a
edit this out.
paradox. Exactly.
If he edits this
always
out,
good
he's a fucking coward.
As I was saying, this is the first part where I get to go into a deep dive with the players about what their characters have been up to in the most recent recording session. For us, that is actually going to take place between episodes, I believe it was 110 and 113. Is that correct?
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I know. It's a lot to cover. And so I'm going to go like lots of broad strokes here, just because this was quite a beefy recording session.
Lots of stuff happened.
Lots of
Yeah.
stuff happened.
I feel like we left on this wild cliffhanger that I do not know what will happen next in.
Wild boat
It's
drop.
really tempting to go right into that very last bit and to go into it. But I actually want us to start off with a little bit before this last recording session. And I know that I'm breaking my rules immediately, which is totally fine. We are now returning to Isathil. And your characters have quite a story, quite a sordid history with it. How are they feeling when they step through that portal back to this plane where so much stuff has already happened to them? In particular, actually, no, all of you have had equal stuff happen to you. It's pretty bad, eh?
It's
So tell me, what were on your characters' minds going back through?
You know that guy in the magic school bus who's like, can this just be like a normal fucking field trip? That's a direct quote from the magic school bus. I feel like
Yeah,
that's
am
Mira's vibe.
Is that? I think that's
Citation
Arnold.
note: the magic school
I
bus.
think that might be Arnold.
Yes.
That's definitely Arnold.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Arnold.
Yeah.
From a show that I did watch and whose characters I do know the names of.
Yes.
What was Carlos's big gimmick?
People
My?
said his name.
Yeah.
They went
Carlos.
Oh, Carlos.
He was.
They just said it for no reason.
I don't know why they
though.
said his name. I just
I think
know
he
they
was.
said
I
his
think it was
name.
like some sort of jokester or something, and he made like
Oh,
puns
was
or
it
something, and then
It was,
people would
like,
just be
literally
like,
puns.
Carlos.
Sam, last time y'all went to Pitter and Patter, and remind me what happened with Serenep back there.
Straight up killed a
Oh.
dude.
Yeah, we're coming right back to this, aren't we?
Yeah, right back
Yeah.
to right where to like the plane where it happened. A lot has happened since then, but you're going back now. How does that feel?
I feel like for Serenep, it would be kind of like she's more confident in herself. She's a little stronger now. She knows her friends better. She's more confident in her group. I think meeting with the Confluence definitely helped her work out those issues of, oh, okay, so this was literally out of all these different like timelines and such, the best way that she could have gone. And I think going back is less of it's going to happen all over again and more she's going to go and face her fears, face her demons, I guess.
That's interesting. Do you think that, right now she is kind of like in her groove in that respect? Do you think that like there is a situation that could occur while you guys are over here that could cause her to spiral? Like if there is a Yelm Part 2 situation is basically what I'm asking.
Oh,
Is she prepared for that?
I can't see us having another situation like that. Like we were like in like a huge like cult town basically where our lives are like really, really in danger. I'm not saying our lives aren't in danger every time we go to Isathil, but like that
We're
was
in a
like,
very normal
we
town right
we were like
now.
in the center of it,
Yeah.
and we were on their turf.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I have to protect my friends. So I think if something were to happen again, she would be more confident in, at this point, you kind of have to do what you have to do. She doesn't want to do it, but like, I don't think she would spiral as badly as she had the first time.
Okay, interesting. And now, Ben, I also called you out earlier. Winsor has a lot of ties to Isathil, doesn't he?
You could say that one way or another.
So at this point, is it just like going to a vacation home? or is it like stuff might catch up to me now?
I guess I wouldn't say it's all sunshine and rainbows as much as Isathil appears to be, quite literally. I think with all the past experiences Windsor has had in Isathil, I think he's more aware of sort of the unpredictable nature of the plane and sort of just trying to make sure nothing really jumps out too much, because he's had a lot on his plate already with the whole situation with Celti. So now it's less about exploration and like the wonder of the plane itself and more of like, okay, this is what's going on. Can't really divert my focus too much. I have a goal in mind, but this place is also getting a little scary.
Absolutely. And it's funny to think about, like, we often within the fandom like think of Winsler as like this giant force of chaos, which I guess I should like be correct. He is a very tiny force of chaos, but his effect is large. And so it's very funny to hear him being worried about like the unpredictable like outcomes of like what this plane could throw at him, because it seems like a place that is perfectly suited for his type of shenanigans, I think are the nicest, most apt word for them.
That's one way to put it.
But here's another quick question for the whole group. Now that you've seen a bit more of Isathil, favorite parts? Because you guys have seen, I would say, more of this plane than you have of your prime material plane.
That's
Our favorite
true.
parts or our characters' favorite parts?
Let's do both.
I kind of want to say it's Patter probably for me still.
Oh, I love Patter.
Just because
Really?
it's just a giant like hole in the
That's
ground with
true.
like there's a city in there, and it's all like flooded now and stuff. But like I don't know, I thought that was like really cool because this is big civilization is like right here.
It feels like if the Grand Canyon was like lined with houses across the walls, you know? Like that is definitely a good way of
Atlantis.
thinking of it.
It's Atlantis.
Yeah, it is Atlantis, now.
Yeah,
I can't
very-
The downfall of Patter.
Oh,
I like Celti's house. Me, Sarah. I just love Celti. I think that, I don't know, everything she has going on is very fun. I always love her like weird supplies. I love that she has a fucking no-name bag of pretzels. I think Celti's a super interesting character, and I feel like her vibe is very well suited for Isathil as well, just because of the very colorful chaos with some underlying darkness to it. It's very Celti. I think it's a lot of fun. Mira probably likes sort of just the mid parts of Isathil, just like the forests and the like sky and all of that. It's colorful, it's pretty, it's relatively chill except for the dead bees. I think that like I don't know, I feel like seeing Isathil that was not actually intentional for once,
Relatively chill.
but that's very good.
Wait, I don't get it.
The bees
They're
were frozen to
frozen.
death. They're very chill.
Oh my gosh.
They're on ice.
Oh my gosh.
you guys are killing me here.
But yeah, it's a very good time.
I would say myself, Sam. I honestly really like Golopedra's like lair, like the tree, and like you go up and it's like the nest, and like it's just very. It feels very Link's Awakening, and I love that game. So I kind of like view it like that, and I think Serenepth the same as Mira, like just like the landscape, like the forests are like just really colorful, and like it's, especially if you're not used to seeing like a lot of nature, it's like these colors are like beyond your own imagination for what a tree would look like, so you're just kind of like, ooh, what is this? Like I want to look at this for a while.
I think that's really interesting that those two characters are less interested in the individual destinations within Isathil and appear to have like much more of a focus on the journeys that they take or the actual like surroundings themselves, not any of the actual cultures that have taken up there. I think that is like an interesting like aspect of them, of like,
I mean, to be fair, every stop destination has gone wrong in some way for Serenepth.
That's
So-
that's true.
She's like, oh, I like
Absolutely.
the walking part. I don't want to stop now.
not for Mira. She just met like one of her best friends recently in that Grung village.
Yeah, she's Mira's friend.
That
like
place rules.
she's so nice
Oh
and
my
friendly. It's a
God.
great place.
Uh,
I wish that every place was like that, just like seeing old friends.
Yeah, there's just
There's
your
a
friend
bunch
who's
of
just like
Avas
tied
all
up
over the
and
land.
stuck in a giant like pool by a bunch of frog people.
University
have a friend like
stories,
that?
you know? Like,
Strange
Right.
listen,
coincidences.
we've all been freshmen. Now, Carla, what about you? What is both your and Integrity's favorites?
Okay. I think for Carla, me, I love, you know how they said that they love the surroundings? I think that for Carla, I enjoyed the surroundings in a particular area where Integrity brought up Garden Vegas. I really hope that like it made it seem like that is a real thing. Because if Garden Vegas was a real thing, I would love to explore it. So Carla loves that.
What do you
I don't
think
mean to alarm anybody, but Carla keeps referring to herself in the third person. And then when she was talking about integrity, she said I and then corrected herself. So I'm not sure who we're talking to right now.
I think we've all
Something
done that a couple of
suspicious
times
here.
now. So
Yeah.
I think all this
swear
happening in
the
this
integrity.
podcast. We promise.
I swear nothing's wrong.
just
And-
answer me this one question, actually, next, Carla. I have a quick follow-up to that first thing that you just said, which was, am I talking to Carla right now? Am I talking to Integrity?
It's Carla.
You started saying she. Wait.
Every answer makes her more suspicious.
No, you're talking to me, Carla. And I
it's
play
I.
Integrity.
Carla, I promise
Yes, you
Integrity does not
you.
play me.
A likely story.
And I think
So you
Integrity's favorite part, surprisingly, maybe might be it might be the marsh, like where we are right now.
Yeah,
Those
why
really
is
pretty
that?
lights that you just kind of follow for a while. We're so relaxing.
I think that because right now I actually don't know. There's just like so much things going on right now in the marsh, and I feel like Integrity lives for that. The drama and the fact that there is a business there that she could potentially purchase and be, you know, like her own lord. So I think that the marsh is something that Integrity would like or likes the most.
I dig it. All right. Well, in that case, I have a few more of like a few fun questions before we get into anything like a little bit more serious, which was, do you remember those board games in the Lodge of the Lost?
Yes.
What do you think they had up in there? Because I'm going to ask Luke the same thing. I'm going to see how the answers differ, to see how well both you
Okay.
know him and how well he knows y'all.
So they had a copy of the Game of Life, but all of the events were just so fucking weird. Like the little kids pins have like 8 eyes or something, and it's like, oh, you know, that's just how kids are. Or it's like there's one where it's like, all right, you've reached the common life event that all of us reach at a certain stage of our lives where we turn into goop. Just like life, but as people experience it in Isathil.
Return to the goop. Nurture the land.
That's
Oh
so
my
funny
goodness.
because like when I was trying to like in my head after that episode, I was thinking of games as it would be in that room. I was like, life. I guess it's death, and it will just be like. And then
That's morbid.
what other games are there? Like there's snakes and ladders, but
Well, there's no
how
Ticket to Ride. I know that.
For those who don't know, that's a train game.
Oh,
I
Of
can't
course
remember
it would
any
be.
other
Song.
Of course it is.
What would Monopoly be?
Just like different Isathil
Exactly the
landmarks.
same, but the money is like eyeballs.
Ew.
It would be exactly the same, except the property would be named after like places from Candyland.
oh.
Oh my god, yes.
So they mixed
Like, that's just
Candyland
Isathil.
and Monopoly together and kind of mixed them together.
If that's not already a thing, then we've created it and we cannot publish this podcast anymore. We actually have to patent this because it's $1 million idea.
Well, no, we patented it first and then we released it to be like, see, this is the proof. This is when this was
Our
recorded.
origins.
This is our proof.
Look at the metadata. I don't know what that is, but it
I'm gonna
sounds
look it up
official.
to see if it actually exists yet or not.
Go for it.
Don't mind me.
What about you, Ben? You feel very keyed into like the chaotic nature of Isathil. What board game would you say that they have in a hotel? Or an inn, really. Not really a hotel. Not a hotel, to be fair.
Hotel.
Not
Like
yet.
an Airbnb, but a bit nicer.
Integrity
Okay.
will make it into an empire.
Air TNT.
Oh,
Hmm.
well, you don't have to spend too long on this question. It's okay.
Well, I might go for something like Clue.
Yes.
How do you think Clue would be different in Isathil? Is
Hmm.
Professor Plum just a literal plum?
It could be taken very literally.
I dig it.
Mrs. Peacock is actually the only one in really bland colors here.
Oh.
It's like it's Clue, but it's just like the opposite almost. So like you expect one thing to be this, but it's really
Oh, you're
something
trying to
else
kill
entirely.
someone.
Oh.
That could be
Murder
it.
Clue.
You know?
I mean,
That's Clue, but reverse.
You have to figure out which room the victim is
You
in
have-
so that you can slip in there undetected.
We have so many things we have to patent now before we release this.
Reverse Clue.
Reverse clue.
Reverse Clue, which is basically just hide and go seek if you think about it. One person is... Well, except
Oh.
Hide and seek with Golopedra.
Ooh.
we've gotten out of...
do you think there's an elder-based game? Or do you think that will not be allowed?
Oh, like they don't want depictions of themselves? I feel like there would be some chill elders though. Like, cause this, like the first one, like Shinpem, like this, like the goose speaker seemed pretty chill, right? I feel like if you went there really nicely and you were like, hello, do I have your permission to release a video game based on your likeness or a board game based on your likeness? That the goose would probably be like, okay, is it fun? And if you could prove it's fun, I feel like they would allow it.
Sit down, let me play
One
with
moment.
you.
Not to get too much back like into plot and like boring stuff like that, but whatever did happen to Shinpem, did we ever find out what happened with him?
We
left.
don't know.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
And
Nope.
what do you all
They
think
just-
happened then? I want to get into some theory crafting real quick.
The Persephone myth. Shinpen has to leave for 6 months, and then winter happens, or the
I'm
darkness
gonna
and the
assume
color
that's also the
drains.
case.
And then after 6 months, he comes back.
That's almost certainly it, right?
I feel like they would have told us, right? Like if that was like, hey,
100%.
by the way, children, the like secondary god of this plane's gonna leave it, and you are gonna almost freeze to death. It is nothing to worry about.
Also,
they would have said that,
like
right?
all
like,
light from the world will just go away.
No,
you
Yeah.
think people would own lanterns? Like,
See, the thing is, it's like California and earthquakes. The locals are so used to it by now that like they're
they
just
don't even
fine.
bother to bring it
They
up.
just don't even notice it. And meanwhile,
then
y'all are
when-
some tourists and freaking out at like really slow, like low on the Richter scale.
Yeah,
like
see,
when you're
I
on
was-
a subway in New York and it starts like lurching forward for the first time and you fall over and everyone's like, first timers.
See, I was wondering that, but then that's why I asked Melon, where it's like, hi, is this normal? But apparently it's not normal. So I was thinking that Shinpem just wanted, a break from all the bullshit.
Sereneth insulted him so much that he left the plane.
Damn.
You've hurt my feelings.
Could have been something else for all we know.
Could have been Faramel.
Ooh, that's always my default if something weird has happened.
Yeah,
Just
no.
default.
That
Alright.
motherfucker.
If it's Isathil and like it's sinister, then I'm
Let's
like,
see.
oh, that's
Let's see.
that's
We got
fair.
we got
Shit.
B sorbet.
Yeah.
We got Shinpem like going through whatever, disappearing.
He's just going through
Well,
something.
the
It's just a
fuck
phase.
knows.
Don't worry about it.
he's just going through it.
Okay, we didn't need light anyways. Bye, I guess.
I wonder if like they were like the meeting that they were having is something like whether it's like a regular meeting for the gods to communicate or if there is some kind of higher event that is concerning them that they all needed to like come together to discuss, and it's those matters that required Shinpem to leave. Like I wonder if all of the like elders and gods are like, hi, we need to like talk about a thing, there's a group call, there's some problem we need to all leave
There's a
and
group
deal with.
call.
Well, that's
Get in the
basically
conference
what it
call,
was, right?
Pick
Guys,
up
we
the
have this
phone.
group project.
We
It's
all-
due next week. Shinpem, you haven't worked on it at all. Like, you haven't returned our group texts. Get back in
Shinpem's like,
here.
fine, I'll put the intro section together. BRB.
Yep.
I guess I will present everyone like, hi everyone, I'm the first elder, this is the second elder, and then no other contribution.
Worst
Uh,
What you're
elder.
saying is,
Ugh.
before we leave here, we're going to get a PowerPoint presentation from all the elders.
Oh, worse. It's gonna be a Prezi.
Oh no!
Oh, they're gonna try
Well,
and do
actually,
some
it
like
served
cool
me well
effect. It's
before,
not gonna
but,
work. It's gonna like crash the item. They have to like re-log in.
It's just gonna cause motion sickness to everyone who watches.
Luke, cut this. But I have to deal with so much Prezi in my day job. It is killing me. I don't know why it's this preferred format
They-
for a
people
bunch of
think it's
40 and 50-year-old
cooler.
men.
They're like,
It
oh my
gives
god,
me
it
motion
moves.
sickness.
It fucking
Oh my
moves.
god!
That's
Well, then we can go
fucking
into
A.
this corner, zoom in, and open this bubble.
Yeah.
Whatever.
PowerPoint is slick.
I just
I
imagine
like
the-
simplicity.
Prezi, but it's in VR.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
That's
I can
cursed.
guarantee that would not be fun.
You
Yeah,
walk
they're
into
not.
different rooms and it's a different slide.
You have to like go to, someone rents out an entire building for their presentation.
It's like soaring over California. They just like zoop you right into the next point.
Well, I do have a fun thing. Now, talk shows have segments, and my segment for this talk show, or this first one that I'm introducing, is a game called Battleships.
This is where the
What
battleship
is
theme will play.
that?
Yes, this is where the
C5.
Battleships thing. Yes, perfect.
That's it.
So I messaged earlier a little bit about a potential game for us to play, and here are the rules. Now, in the TNT fandom, shipping tends to be a bit of a thing between our fans, and so I wanted to give the players a chance to join in as well. I'll introduce a few NPCs who have been introduced in this past recording session. You have to tell me what existing character you would bet you think they would be the best fit with. Once
Like, not just,
everyone
like,
has, whoever they would be the best fit in a relationship with, you have to tell me who, and then at least one sentence, at most 2 sentences of justification for it. Then we all vote, and you can't vote for your own.
Dang it.
Ooh.
So this is like a relationship, like romantic relationship, or can it be like soulmates of just like, you know, they fit with each other, they vibe, and they can just be BFFs.
Who vibes
You
the
know
best?
what? I'm gonna allow for like some creativity here. If you know, my thought when putting the game together was definitely romantic. However, if you want to just go with like, hey, who do you think would vibe the best together? Then I'm also 100% here for that conversation.
Because there might be some characters who's like, when they're romantically involved, they will just pull each other's hair out because of how much they hate each other. But as friends, they
Are
They
you
would be
speaking from
like-
experience? Or
oh no.
Yikes.
oh. No, absolutely. Well, we had a few notable introductions this past recording session and over the past 4 episodes, so I have a few of them right here. Who wants to go first when talking about who they would ship best with Melon, the proprietor of the Lodge of the Lost?
Oh, okay. I have a hot take.
Ooh.
My initial thought with Melon was Ava Redding, just because it seems like they have similar personalities, but I feel like Melon is somebody who is very afraid of the world and has many bad experiences. And so, like, I feel like he needs somebody confident to, like, bring that side of, like, I don't know, that confidence out. So I'm going to propose Kreska.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's a big
Inspired
shot.
choice. Yeah, that's a good one. Out of the gate hot. All right, who wants to come in next?
This is me trying to think of all the characters that we've met in the past, and I'm like, I completely forgot that Kreska was a thing.
We can't forget her. She died for our sins.
Yeah, no, now you guys will have to have the TNT wiki just up for every recording of this
I
show.
need to know so many names.
You need to know every character who's there.
I have one.
Yeah, this sucks for me because I am horrible with names.
It's definitely.
I have an interesting one.
All right, Ben, let's hear it.
Might be a little unconventional, but I think it might be pretty fun if we ship Melon with Ari.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about
Because
this.
what I
Yes.
think is Melon just sounds like the kind of guy who just needs someone to talk to. And I think Ari would be perfect for that, just because he's a proprietor of this lodge. So obviously there's going to be people coming in with lots of stories to tell, and Ari also has stories to tell. So I think they could keep each other company for quite some time.
That's a really
hit
good
a-
point.
That's high
point.
quality. All right. So
Well,
we've
now
got,
I feel bad for following it with like the one who was watching over the baths in Sylvie's town. What's Sylvie's town?
Lightmere.
Lightmere.
Lightmere. You know, like that person who looks after the pools.
was that Grandpa Hat?
No,
No, I don't think that was Grandpa Hat.
It
I
was
think it was
this-
like Grandpa Hat's like granddaughter.
Might have been.
Yeah, and my really sad argument for it is I don't know. I think that they're both uncaring about the jobs that they hold. So they can both just run away, and because of their experience of that being held back by these responsibilities, they are fit to take on the world.
They're united by a hatred for customer service jobs. I respect that.
Listen, I've seen relationships that have been based on less, so I think that is absolutely valid.
I think following Sarah's idea of like you need someone like stronger because he seems very introverted, I would kind of go a different way. I would choose Dessa
Oh.
because she is she's independent, but she cares for people. So I think they would kind of mesh in this sense of like, we're here to help each other. Like, she'll make sure he doesn't just sit inside all day, maybe go outside, get some fresh air kind of thing. Because, like, that's what you do for people that you care about. And in return, he would, like, show her to, like, relax, like, play a board game with me, like, play a card game, like, just kind of take a moment, put your feet up and just, like, relax, you know?
That's cute. All right. I dig it. All right, so as a recap, we have from Ben, Ari, from Sam, Dessa, from Carla,
Bath girl.
that one
Bath girl.
employee, Bath girl, who had the magazine, I believe. I think they had a magazine.
They might have had a magazine. I don't remember.
They were
I feel like it was
reading
Dragonborn
something.
Weekly. I feel like Dragonborn Weekly is
Dragonborn
always
Weekly might have
in
been it,
this.
yeah.
I'll have everyone subscribe to Dragonborn Weekly. And then Sarah coming in hot with Kreska. All right, everyone, if you could, hop into the chat and then
my
type
God.
in who you think is the correct answer. Who do you think is the best ship? You cannot pick your own. And
Dang.
send on 3, but y'all have already done it, so...
On 3,
unanimous.
wait. We've already done
unanimous.
it.
First point of the game by unanimous vote goes to Ben.
Damn.
For that beautiful Ari insight. All right. Now, would you all be interested in playing another round?
Ooh.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep the keep
Okay.
the wiki up now.
Keep
Oh
the
yeah, no,
wiki
keep
up.
that wiki up. Listen, I wasn't joking when I said it. We got it. We need it. Now then, an introduction from I believe it was episode 112. A fan favorite, I'm sure. That episode hasn't been released yet, so we have no idea who is going to be memorable or not. But I'm betting on Moistless, the shaman of the
Oh
marsh.
no!
Of the marsh.
Voiceless.
Yes, I already know who it's gonna be.
Oh.
The grung shaman priest. Sam, you seem excited.
Oh,
You already know.
no.
You've already put down the wiki.
Oh yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yexum?
Oh my gosh.
That's so cursed. I really like it.
They can be dry together.
I don't even think you need to
could be
justify that one.
dry
I think it's pretty clear.
No, we get it. No, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh no!
Okay, you
Yes.
win. Nothing.
You win.
I'm just saying.
I thought you were about to say you just win this round. Like, thanks.
I'm not paying
Oh.
attention. I'm trying to look at all the list of all the people in this.
Oh, you're all good. We can edit out this like pause between answers. It's no big deal.
How does this wiki
Sarah, you look like you're about to have one.
I don't know yet. I'm still on the about to threshold. Oh shit. Who would go well with Moistless?
I think I have one. I think I have.
All
one.
right, Ben.
This one
Let's hear it.
might be more for comedic effect, but
All right.
I would pair Moistless with Bailey
Ooh.
because here's my reasoning. Ow.
Yeah, please do.
I think Moistless is a very good like encourager, like a very encourageable speaker. So I think they would be really good at like giving that like support and energy to Bailey's actions. Also, he seems like a stickler for the rules. So I think they would pair well with Bailey because Bailey's also a stickler for the rules.
I'm
That's a
really
good
into this,
point.
Ben. This does sound like you're just describing Jordan B. Peterson with one of his fanboys. and I'm here for it. I think that is exactly what Bailey Blue is and what he needs.
And Moistless says
It's what he wants. I don't know if it's what he
Moistless
needs.
says like the small are destined for greatness.
Oh, dang, true.
Okay, so I know that I don't have a serious answer here, but Sam suggested someone very, very dry to pair with Moistless. But what about two beings that really complement each other? What if we pair someone intended to be very dry with someone intended to be very wet? I propose Moistless x Poji the Dream Salmon.
Poji.
Whoa.
I thought you
Specifically salmon form.
Well, yeah, the other forms aren't wet.
That we know of.
put some water on it.
I don't
it'll
think
be fine.
Poji the Dream Chicken was just drenched.
He was very scared.
Chicken
He was a
water?
chicken.
Yeah.
Great choices all around. Carla, do you have one for me?
There was one, and then Sarah brought that up, and then I completely forgot the name that I was gonna
Oh
give.
no.
There was like a mind map there. Like there was like connection happening. Someone who okay, I got it. It's Faramel.
Ooh.
Go on.
I would pair Faramel and Moistless together just because if Moistless needs any moist,
Any moist?
Faramel can freeze water and take it to him and unfreeze it so that he's not moist anymore.
But why?
So that he's not moistless.
Why would he need to freeze the water before bringing it over just to turn it back into water
Okay,
again?
okay,
Marsh.
listen. How much easier is it to carry water versus ice? Like when you carry ice, you can carry a bunch of water-ish molecules together. Versus if you
My hands
I
get
don't
cold.
think
Can you
he's
grab
gonna carry
one
it just
water
loosely in his
with
hands. Like, I think you would like have like a bucket or something to like carry the component of water.
I think we need
and
like
not just-
actual
They actually
science
don't have
here
buckets in
to
Isathil.
like figure
Oh.
this out.
It's just
Yeah,
a
no,
wood. It's
buckets
just a
are actually-
wagon.
Haven't
This
been
reminds
invented
me
yet.
of that book scene. Remember when we froze like water and then we're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we'll break.
We'll just freeze
Oh my
freeze the
God.
orb
Yeah.
and then break it.
Oh,
Very
goodness.
normal solution.
But then it was
Listen,
not gonna
y'all had
work.
a limited toolbox.
Oh, that was
We are
funny.
smart.
Yeah,
Y'all
remember
are
when we
something.
put bacon grease in a lock and then set it on fire?
It didn't budge.
Didn't work. It did not.
It did not budge.
It may have helped. You never know.
There's no control group. We
Regardless.
can't prove that.
I
was
like to
not one
believe
of
it
the
did
things you
work.
had to do.
Or it did help a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay, well, once again, we have everyone's choices prepared and ready. Y'all know what to do.
Do we actually
Given
wait for
the-
a count of 3?
I mean,
think we should.
depends. Do you guys think that would be more fun, or do you think it's
I
lame?
think it might be more fun that way.
All right.
Okay, hang on.
Is everyone ready?
Can you remind us who?
Oh,
who's who?
of course. Forgive me. All right. So the NPC that we're shipping today, or for this round, is Moistless. Sam suggested Yexum. Ben suggested Bailey Blue. Carla suggested Faramel. And Sarah suggested
Poji the Dream Salmon.
Poji the Dream Salmon, who is very moist, and for that reason explicitly. Are we all ready?
Yes.
Yep.
3, 2. Wait, I said that. I'm not ready. Give me a second. Luke, edit this out. Shut up.
No, Luke, keep it.
All right, now I'm ready. Okay. Redoing the count. 3, 2, 1, go.
Ooh.
Oh.
2 votes for Poji. Both Carla and Sam going for Poji. Meanwhile, Sarah, Ben, and myself going for Yexum. A tighter race this time. But Sam takes it home. We are now 1-1 in this game of battleships.
A drier one than we've ever had.
The driest
How
winners.
can it be a battleship when there's no water?
We're in a
Battle
desert.
wagons.
All right. Are we up for one final round?
Yes. I like
Yes.
this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not who you expect.
Oh.
Dang it.
Oh.
No. This time, I want you to find the perfect match for Loud the Slad.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Oh no.
Ferdinand.
For
Ooh,
Enemies
instant
to
choice.
lovers. Enemies, listen, they're enemies to lovers.
Slow burn.
Both of them currently have a history disguising themselves as like a different type of person to like avoid detection from certain things. They seem to be like, they have this like kind of chase thing going on. I feel like they need to like pursue each other like for a very long time in like a Zuko in the Avatar kind of way, except those two were not a thing, but like in the sense of like having like a
But they
sort of
should
like
have
this
been.
long-term chase. No, this like long-term chase
They should have.
relationship, and then finally it'll come to a head, and they will realize they love each other. They love chasing each other. They love trying to find each other much more than they love any possible end goal, and they fall in love.
It's like Catch Me If
300K
You Can, but
fanfic.
romantic.
Implying Catch Me If You Can was not romantic.
Oh.
Damn true. All right, Sarah with the early start. Carla, it sounds like you have one.
The progenitor.
Oh, all right.
Ooh.
Oh, that's gonna be
Okay.
fun.
Please
I-
dive into that for me.
The Slad seems to care so much about not encountering powerful things. But what if that was the thing that the Slad really needed,
Damn, really makes you think.
Yeah, so I think that they're perfect for each other, and I would argue that the progenitor really should remove the curse from me, because I paired them together. So thank you.
Oh, so it's more of like you're trying to get out of this whole like thing that you've signed up for.
No, but yes.
No.
We'll dive into that here in a bit. Sam or Ben? Sam, it seems like you have one.
I think Loud would be great with Ocean. Because think about it. Loud is upset because a deal wasn't as it was said with Ferdinand. Ocean's upset because Delness's dad isn't paying back that debt that he owes. And I think they would join together, maybe not 100% romantic, but like business partners. And they would go after the people who owe them debts.
Like crime lovers. I get
Crime
it.
lovers, exactly. It starts as like getting the stuff fixed, and then it becomes more tender moments by the fireplace, and then suddenly Cormid has a new dad.
Poor Delness.
What?
What?
Huh?
Well,
I think the family
poor
tree got
Delness
mixed up
because
there.
the dad's going to die.
What?
Wait, no, I meant Loud's
Wait.
gonna be Cormid's new dad.
I'm confused.
No, because they're going to make Elrich pay with his life, right?
What?
But how does
Yeah,
that?
but why would that make
Wait.
Delness the new dad?
No.
Okay,
Poor
okay. I'd like to
Delness,
change my
because
answer. Ocean
He's
and
going for
Delness
Delness.
fall in
You
You
love.
just said Delness.
And Delness becomes the new dad for Cormid. I like Carla's
Delness
idea
is not-
better. I'm
Delness
sorry,
and Ocean
Mira.
are not a viable option for this round of the game. You have to have Loud in there. Loud just can't be like the third wheel going on like
It's
Maybe
a
that's
friend
just Loud's
dates.
vibes, though.
No, I said poor Delness because she's.
Oh,
going
I
to
didn't
be
hear
without
poor
him.
Delness.
Yeah,
I
me
just
I
neither.
just
the
heard
word.
Maybe your
Delness.
audio cut out. We all just heard Delness.
Delness.
It sounded like you were saying Delness was going to be the new dad. It was really fucked up.
Oh, my cheeks.
Okay,
Oh,
but Sam is all for the crime lovers of Loud and Ocean. Ben, what do you think?
I've been debating on this one back and forth, but I think I have made my choice. And I think Loud would really pair well with Rock Jerry.
Oh shit.
So
Do tell.
here's my reasoning. So it seems that Loud has had lots of events involving betrayal. They're very hesitant to just trust willingly. So I think they would need somebody who he can definitely rely on. And I think Rock Jerry is the kind of loyal rock elemental that Loud needs in their life. Always there for them. No backstabbing.
Well, let's give these final names. Sarah believes that Loud and Ferdinand should have the enemies to lovers romance of the century.
I do.
Sam believes in the crime couple of Ocean and Loud, ready to wreak havoc on both Isathil and the prime material plane. Ben went with Rock Jerry, which threw me for a fucking loop, but also makes sense when you think about it.
That's Ben in a nutshell. You're like, oh, I don't get this. And then Ben explains it, and you're like, oh, this is brilliant.
Shit.
Yeah, I just have to explain it.
And then finally, Loud and the Progenitor from Carla, an incredible pairing, but mostly just to get integrity out of her new warlockness. So, if we are all ready, go ahead and type your answers down below. Don't hit enter yet. Give me a second.
I just want to say I enjoyed the pause of like Sarah for these reasons, Sarah for these reasons, Ben chose Rock Jerry.
Why?
Ben chose Rock Jerry for some fucking reason, and then it really surprised me because it made sense.
Just
And it
dawned on
frustrates
you.
me because Rock Jerry was a joke. All right, is everyone ready?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh,
Oh, look at
Wow.
that. Look at that unanimous vote.
landslide.
We love some good
Ferdinand
fanfic.
by a landslide, with Sarah voting for the Progenitor. Enemies to Lovers remains the greatest ship trope that is available to us. I'm sorry to everyone.
Absolutely.
Now the meta of the game is going to get really weird
Uh-oh.
because we're going to start having like, oh, a new NPC was introduced. Well, yeah, now you have to pick out the best villain for them because then that'll be the best pairing. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for playing. We are now in a 3-way tie between Ben, Sam, and Sarah.
Sorry, Carla.
Now I have an option for the three of you. Do we keep on the scores and keep them going from like game to game? Or do we just declare this a 3-way winnership?
I am happy either way.
In that case, let's hold on to these scores. You all can follow along at home, keep track. I will as well.
I'm gonna make a note.
But I want to give Carla a chance to come in from behind and actually win this.
Competition.
I am. Okay.
You got this, Carla. Carla, we're gonna after this episode, Carla's gonna go and have a romance montage where she's gonna like figure out who's gonna be the easiest way to ship people together, and she's gonna come back and wreck all of y'all. And I hope you're ready.
Dang it.
Absolutely.
And absorb
Yep.
all the knowledge.
But Carla, speaking of you, I have one last little discussion point for us, and then we can call it a day. But I wanted us to start off directing this question to you, Carla, because it concerns your character. The secret you have had for so long has finally been revealed. Integrity's pack has been revealed to the party. How is she handling that right now?
Let me just say that when all of this happened, like I had this idea in my head of how I would want to reveal it, right? Like I wanted the cards to be on my. I don't know.
You wanted to control the situation.
Yes, I wanted to be the one who would deal the cards and be like, yeah, this is the moment. So when that happened, I was like, what? And at least now I know that I'm the smelly one, which is great.
I think that's still Ira, but okay.
Yeah. But wait, is your question like what integrity feels or what Carla feels or what together they feel?
Let's do both. Let's start off with how do you feel about how everything shook out? Like, are you excited for what comes next?
Yes. As I said, like it was not how I planned it out, how I planned it to be or wanted it to be, but the fact that Mira was enchanted, but at that moment was like betrayal. That was so good. I was in the mid. I almost cried, and I was almost like I felt like it was Carla who was under the light.
No, I'm sorry.
No. Like because of how good that played out, I think that I was able to react better because in my head, like, what if this was happening to me, Carla? Because like it's sometimes hard to play another character, right? Like to see through their lens. But at that moment, it felt like I was feeling what Integrity was feeling. So I was like,
Right.
oh shit, this is actually happening.
Because it changes from, oh, I've made a deal with like, or this ancient entity has made a deal with me, and it goes from that to, oh, this is now like a secret that I've been keeping from my friends, which is far more relatable to any of us. Like, I'll never be able to make a pact with like an ancient entity. Like, I
hope.
can't anymore. But you know, like,
Deal's already been made.
everyone knows the feeling of being called out on like a secret, you know?
Yes. And it was, I don't know, I really love that scene. Everyone did great. So from
Yeah.
Carla's perspective, it was great. For Integrity, that was, she probably felt that her entire life was put out in the open, because at that moment, that was all Integrity thinks about, because she got into this mess. She doesn't know how to get out of it. She doesn't know where it is safe. Like, she can say something and the progenitor can probably, she doesn't know if the progenitor can hear her thoughts, can see her thoughts. So there's like a relief with having her friends find out about it. But at the same time, I think at that moment, Integrity's still trying to figure out what the heck is happening. So it's like that two emotions kind of happening, but it's great.
I gotcha. Now, as for the rest of you, I want to hear about how your characters are currently dealing with this information. I'm sure that we're going to see more of that in the episodes to come, but like, initial reactions, how did your, characters feel about this information that you have players have known about for ages now? But for your characters, this is brand new. How are you handling this? Or how are they handling this, I should say? Sarah,
Not
you had a very
super
strong
well.
reaction.
Yeah, Mira's not very happy about this information. I think it's kind of like twofold, right? I think there's sort of just the initial feeling of like, oh shit, like my friend is keeping this thing from me. Like, I feel like lied to just as a friend, as a person. And I think that one is probably just gonna like fade quite quickly over time, just because it's like, okay, like I get it. Like, but I think there's also this strain of Mira feeling like the whole situation with the progenitor is like what lost her arm and all of this. So I feel as though she probably feels in some way like she had the right to know. And I think that's how Mira is taking that right now. And I'm sure they will have the chance to talk about it and things will be okay. But at the moment, Mira is not overly happy with Integrity right now.
Yeah. I mean, like, I hadn't even considered the fact that, like, the progenitor was the root of why, like, Mira had lost her arm.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing, oh, my friend is currently, like, drawing power from them.
Yeah, exactly.
It really sucks, especially because, like, she and Winsler have been the two people that you've known for the longest outside of maybe your roommate at this school.
No, I met Integrity actually technically before we even teleported into the school. She was one of the people at the teleportation circle with me. So I've known her a very long time.
The longest person that you've known shares your birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
oh
and
my
is
gosh,
now
we're
like-
even more
did
like.
And then you're like, you turn around and you're like, also, hey, remember, the reason why you no longer have an arm? What, like, something that really threw your whole, like, future into jeopardy? Now I am also being able to, like, read thoughts through that, so that's pretty dope.
Exactly.
Mira will just
It's a
stab
bit
me
of
in
a
the middle of the night.
situation.
Mira's gonna take your arm and be like replacement.
No, I don't know what my snake arm will do. Like that one's out of my control, but we'll see.
Sam and Ben, what about y'all?
Hmm.
Do your characters, like, are they just like, Warlock is just a word for this? Like, I imagine that Serenith, who is very protective of the rest of the group, is, I like to imagine that she's concerned.
Oh yeah, like in the time that she has known these guys, our lives have all been in jeopardy a great deal of times. And I think just learning that this is another thing that could put someone's life in jeopardy, especially when the progenitor could hurt Integrity, when there was no physical entity there. I think Sereneth, especially, I think she's really protective of Mira, especially because this is family. This is someone she didn't get to know growing up, but she wants to know this person. So it's I think that's also that's why she hugged her, because it's I'm worried for you, but I want you to know that I'm there for you. So if something happens and you're scared, talk to me kind of thing.
I feel you. No, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that like shows a lot. And now, Ben, what about Winsler?
I would say Winsler is thoroughly shook,
Shook me.
aghast.
Really?
Probably, you might say.
Why is that?
Because I think in Winslor's eyes...
Was he surprised that she became a warlock first? Was that the problem?
No, that wasn't the
Came before
problem.
with
That was
Selfie
not.
first?
Listen,
I've been selling my soul to
So-
Celty for nothing.
I would think that Winsler probably is in shock, mainly because he probably didn't see integrity as like doing something like that.
Yeah.
Like, sure, there was a whole orb business and such, but I don't think he really like understood the full gravity of the situation over like the whole orb stuff to begin with. So the fact that like integrity is now a warlock is like, huh? You did what?
You dumb bitch.
No. But then I guess that also like there's like a sense of worry now. Like there's a little bit of unease, but like Winsler wants to do what he can regardless.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's going to be interesting going into the next episode with all of that baggage on y'all's backs.
And Ferdinand.
And
Quite literally.
on someone's
Literally.
back.
And a
Yeah.
boat
Oh,
that's
yeah.
falling from the sky.
Oh, goodness, there is so much to discuss in this chunk of episodes. I feel like we didn't discuss Ferdinand nearly enough. Do you guys want to do one last question about Ferdinand?
Yes. I would
Oh,
like
of
to.
course.
Maybe a question and a half.
I would like to.
Half a question.
Yeah, the half a question is like, do we have like an Ava tier list? Do any of y'all have
Oh,
one?
no.
Like, cause
How
Restricted
dare you
section
ask us this
Ava.
question?
Is the best.
I haven't met
Ava.
enough Avas to
Oh, yeah?
have a good tier list.
Yeah.
I would say restriction
you know what,
restriction section Ava. Then you have regular like, you know, the face of the
Ava Prime.
The face, yeah, Ava Prime, and then you have book thumb Ava. I guess.
But like, what if this is Ava Prime?
that's exactly what I
like-
was thinking. Was this may not be Ferdinand? This could just be Ava Prime.
Ferdinand is Ava Prime.
Maybe
gosh.
Ferdinand and Ava were always one and the same.
Oh my gosh,
Damn.
guys! If you rearrange the letters in Ava ready, you get Ferdinand.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
It's been
no.
there the entire
Oh
time.
no.
And Ava's actually spelled with an F. It's Afa.
Oh my gosh.
Just to get that like Ferdinand anagram a little bit closer.
Oh no.
Like,
Yeah, I know that there is some hesitancy because what if Ferdinand is a good person? Now that you all have gotten some one-on-one time or some group-on-one time with what may be Ferdinand, how are you feeling about that, Mercy? Or do you want to just go ahead and turn Ferdinand
She's
on?
a weasel. She's a bit of a weasel.
she's a snake. She's a weasel. She's a frog.
God, one of my
so
scrap
She's everything
questions-
that
Animal.
Celty said.
One of
Celty
my
was
scrapped
right.
questions was, what animals have your characters been compared to in the style of Ferdinand? And I was like, nah, that's nothing. But I mean, Mira's excited about it because like they're besties. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Well, I just
Oh, yeah.
found out
It's
that
a
my
road
best
trip.
friend put a charm spell on me, and that's so rude because it's like we're best friends. I would have helped you anyway.
So true. So true. What is Serenup feeling?
Going into the sociology of it all, like it's hard to say who is and who is not a bad guy. So it's like she's definitely mischievous, though. 100% mischievous. Seems to be a troublemaker, and from what we've heard from other people, is dangerous. So I think that combined, but then it's like, would it be better if she was in the hands of Celty, who at this point seems a little flying over the cuckoo nest or whatever? Like, what's a better situation currently? Because now we have 3 people after her. It's like, what?
Very good point. Well, are there any other thoughts on Celty or
I'm
how
excited
that
for
whole
more-
situation is gonna like shake out? It seems like it's gonna be rough, and I know
I'm-
that's like a weird thing for a host to say. But I hope y'all
I'm
are
excited
ready.
for more Elephant
I'm
Lady.
very scared.
Actually, is what I'm very excited about.
so
I want to
scared.
know what her deal is going to be with this whole situation.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rough.
I don't know what
Oh,
we're
yeah.
allowed to say in this, but like Luke did talk to me about some stuff that he wants happening to my character.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah,
He might
same.
cut this out. He might 100% cut this out, but like I'm excited. It's gonna be
Well, now I'm even
I don't
more
know how
scared.
much you're allowed to share with us. I don't even know about on the air. Like, I don't know if you're even allowed to share it with us as people.
Probably not.
I mean, I'm
It's
interested
I don't even
because
know what's
now
gonna happen to
spoilers
my-
aren't enough for me.
I didn't
now
say
that
what
you've
anything
been
was.
inducted into the spoiler zone, you need more.
Oh, I need
You need Luke's DM notes.
give me Luke's DM notes. I don't want to have to pay for them on Patreon.
Carla, I need you to sneak into Luke's room, get his notebook, bring it back here.
I mean,
and
he
show
does
it to
sleep
us.
like a frigging like what's like a sleeper that won't wake up no matter what happens.
A
A
sloth?
heavy sleeper.
Yeah.
Snow White.
So like
Aw.
literally,
wait.
I could just wake up at 2 a.m. and like big notebook. Yeah. But I would never do
Just slip.
that. I will not dampen the integrity of the show.
Very wise.
The integrity of the show is already a warlock, and she's already in the marsh, so she's pretty dampened.
Quite literally.
Oh, goodness. Well, I
Yes.
appreciate the four of you all joining me. I hope that you will be able to do so again soon. And, like, we may not have the full cast here. This is more of, like, just a first episode type of deal. But I appreciate you all joining me on this. And if you have any feedback, feel free to join the Trials and Trebuchets Discord. You can find a link to that in the episode description here. I am one of the moderators there.
Whoa.
You can send me a quick question.
Whoa.
If you want to have it on the show, I may select it and have it on a future episode. But any feedback is greatly appreciated. Feel free to reach out, and thank you so much for your time here, both audience and guests. Hope you all have a lovely day, evening, or afternoon, whatever it may be.
Middle
Have
of
a
the night.
good
Why are you
life.
listening to this? Go to bed.
Yeah. In the mid, hope you have a great witching hour.
We'll sing to you
Have a
to
good
your
life.
sleep.
I wish you all a merry 4 a.m.
All right.
I
Don't listen.
lie
Wait, it was like, don't
awake
listen to
just
the
to
podcast at 3 a.m.
keep
challenge.
breathing.
Stay tuned for me going into a deep dive with Luke about the most previous session as well. Thank you so much, and we will be back after a quick break.
I'm a bad
There's a break? What's the break
guy.
for? Is there like gonna be like music? Is there gonna be like an ad here?
Welcome back. This is Sliding into the DMs. I'm your host, Nathan, and this is Luke.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Nathan.
Hey there, Luke. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing very good. I'm very happy to be here. A long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, it's weird. You are a big listener of your own show, aren't you?
I am, yes.
You probably
I-
listen to
I-
the show more than anyone else, I would say.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I hope no one's listened to it more than me, because I listen to every episode at least 3 times before it goes out, and somehow there's still sniffles that go out, which literally cause me a severe amount of pain when I hear them afterwards. Like when the actual show's in the wild and the episodes are out there and people have heard them. There have been a couple times where I'll hear like a sniffle. I've never gone back and edited a sniffle out, and then because I can just have the option of re-uploading audio if I wanted
Yeah.
to. I've never done that, but there was one time around episode 30, I want to say 36 is what I'm thinking in my brain, where I forgot to put the intro music in, and there was just 15 seconds of silence at the start of the episode. And that file was out there for probably 6 or 7 hours, and I was in class and I was like, oh no, and had to
I'm incredibly surprised that you did not walk out of class. Yeah, no. And how weird is it? Like, very quick side note. How weird is it that, like, total strangers, people that you will never talk to and never see, have heard you sniffle?
Oh, well, I think or
do you think the sniffles are
most of
someone
the
else?
The snifflings, I can guarantee you, probably 99% of the time are someone else. I won't put anyone on blast, but some people are snifflier than others. But I know that for sure there's been some gross noises. I don't know if any of my burps or sniffles have made it in this show. Probably some coughs. Like, there's just a lot of bad sounds that make it through the filter, you know?
Oh,
but
I can't
it is
wait to find
strange
out.
to...
You know, with this show, how, you know, all the weird
Oh.
sounds that... Wow, you really let me bomb there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I'm out here to just sit on the side of the pool and watch people just drown by themselves, you know? Like, if you want to go out on a limb and make that joke and say something, I'll just be quiet and let people speak.
And that's why I'm hosting this show, and you aren't.
Yeah.
Also, it'd be weird to interview yourself.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
speaking of, though, we are not here to talk to Luke the editor I would like
No.
to talk with Luke, the DM.
Okay, I'll go get him, okay?
All right, perfect. Yeah, go. Be right back.
Oh, hi there. I was just told that you want to talk to me, Luke, the DM.
Yes. If you could introduce yourself for me.
Oh, hi, I'm Luke. Bleep. The DM. I'm going to cut that bit.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Sorry.
Are you
I'm
going to
having
cut
way
it?
too much fun. I'm
You
having
already
way too
said,
much fucking
I'm going to
fun.
cut that bit. We're like 5 minutes into recording. We're 5 minutes into recording.
I'm having a lot of fun here. I'm just here to giggle and make jokes.
The worst part is, now that I've like made that funny joke about how we're 5 minutes into recording, you can't cut the bit anymore.
Yeah, it has to stay in. Everything has to
So
stay. Or else,
instead you're gonna have to bleep it out. And then what happens is just someone hearing the bleep, wondering, what was that bleep about? And now here they are, like 45 seconds later, finally finding out what the bleep is about. You can tell I listen to way too many podcasts.
yeah. That's actually a very interesting thing bringing up bleeping.
Yeah, are we gonna...
Is that this is just a little tangent. Sorry for stealing all your airtime.
No,
Is
feel
that
free.
when the show, I think we've talked about this in Q&As or like on Discord, which if you don't, you aren't on our Discord, this is just a minor plug in that.
Oh no, I have a whole
talk-
spiel at the end.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Oh,
great,
You
yeah.
have, listen, Discord got me this gig, so I'm gonna like give back to my community.
Anyways, so I probably talked about this in the Q&A or on Discord, but when we first started the show, I was like, you guys can't cuss, or if you do cuss, I'm gonna bleep it, because I think bleeping is really funny. I actually have a very good sound clip when I think Sam said their last name, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to bleep that, and then I just cut out me saying bleep and put that as the bleep. And then I think I did that for like a couple things in a row because there was like things that needed to be, I think I used it in a couple bloopers, but it's just like my go-to little bleep sound effect. It doesn't happen much because we don't have to bleep that much stuff because everyone's very good
Man,
about
it's so
not
hard.
doxing us.
You know, it's really hard for me to actually remember the specific sound effect that you're talking about. So, real quick, bleep. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't
I'll
fucking
be-
forget to bleep that.
No, I won't. Episode 1, dox yourself, bud.
Oh, shit, I didn't even know these are gonna have episode titles, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, it got to.
No, you're absolutely right. I just didn't know what they would be. Regardless, we're gonna cut a huge portion of that.
Oh,
the pacing is
absolutely.
already so fucked.
There's so much on the
Regardless.
cutting room floor already. This is just a
Oh.
ribbons.
But anywho, now that all of that is cut.
Yeah, 20 minutes into the show.
Shit, we have really. Oof. Okay, Luke, I've already talked with the players a little bit, specifically about, and this is from a few episodes before the time that we're
Mhm.
discussing, though I think it's still important for us to talk
Yeah.
about it, which is having a return to Isathil
Mm-hmm.
is, I think, something that needs to be explored not only by the characters who have a lot of baggage from there. I
Mhm.
mean, we have, Serenepth, Winsler, Mira, obviously. Like, it's a mess. It is a lot of bad things happening there. Artists, it came away permanently changed.
Yep,
However,
that is true.
and we've discussed that with the players.
Mm-hmm.
As a dungeon master, when you're returning to a setting for what I think is the first time outside of Wildcliff itself that you guys
Mhm.
are returning to a place, what are you trying to explore in the different areas of the plane of Isathil?
Mm-hmm. It's very a good question, and I think it speaks to.
It was a
I
very
just
long
really,
question, so I may need to
it
repeat
was a
it
long
for
question. It's no, because it's a question. It's fine because it's a question I think about all the time. It's a joke that I like to make with Food for Thought and Faint of Heart, where I make a joke of like we spent all our budget on the big climax scenes, so we just had to reuse the same sets, which is why both of the things take place in Wildcliff, in the sewers, in the dorms, right? Like there's a lot of the reused scenery in those things.
Absolutely.
And it's just a very important thing to try to make them feel a little bit unique every time we go there, or to try to make something to add on to what you've already said. Like something I can point to where it's a smaller scale version of what I'm trying to do when we're coming back to Isathil is with Artis's Cottage. We went there 4 times, I think, total, with like people poking around each and every time. And there was little details I was hoping for them to find, but every time Mira or Sarah in those moments was like, I want to look around Artis's cottage, it just gave me a little opportunity to build on what I'd already established about Artis or about Artis's cottage itself and all these other things. And then we get that one, like, I think of a wonderful little moment at the end where, oh, we've seen this little cottage. This has been like a very key hub for our characters in A Faint of Heart. And then at the end, it's kind of like broken apart, right? Which is kind of like indicative of how that arc ends and how I want it to end, which might be a kind of pretentious way of answering that question. But with Isathil, it does something that does worry me is that will it feel like we're kind of treading over the same ground, right? Because them going back, and since it was already established, like, oh, there's these very set routines that you have to do coming into the plane. You go talk to the elders and you say thanks to the speaker. So, and they even bucked that right away so I should say, I tried to change up that a little bit just to have a little bit of, the first time they went to Isathil, it was just a cool moment and getting into the plane wasn't a big deal. But this time I wanted there to be like a bit of a problem with getting in. So I presented something of an optional problem to them, which is Ira Alaro isn't here. And if you all want to help out with that, you can. And since they are kind-hearted, they did. And they were successful. But then the way that they...
Right, pet the cat.
The way that they approached that problem was spectacular. And just put us into Isathil in a different way. So right out of the beginning, we're already coming into Isathil from a way that the players want to approach it, which is very fun, right? It puts our players, or it puts the students separated, and it puts them separated from their mentor, which is something else that I always worry about with arcs where Artis is there, is like, how do I make Artis just not overshadow them? Which I do very well.
You've done very well by making him a little wimp. I can't ever forget when those vines came on the first trip to Isathil, and he just got knocked the fuck out for the rest of the whole arc. He was just gone.
The coolest Artis has ever been is in episode 17, Attack of the Killer Vines, when they wake him up and they're surrounded by vines and he goes, shit. And they're like, oh my God, Artis is cussed. And then we have that cool, in my mind, of like a little freeze frame of everyone doing their cool magic, like Serenep shooting off Scorching Ray, and like Winsler, I forget what everyone else did, but Artis did some sort of fire spell that I described, and I was just like, oh, this is fun. And then he has never been that cool ever again. But yeah, with returning to Isathil, I wanted to go and try to do different things. Last time we saw a lot of rock people and we participated in the weird revolution. This time it's taking a different kind of turn.
It seems like... sorry to interrupt here. I'm not trying to interrupt my guest. That would be a terrible thing for a host to do on their first episode. Could you imagine? Regardless,
I endorse you interrupting. Quite honestly.
Not right now. Excuse me, Luke. The only thing worse than a host interrupting their guest on the first episode of a podcast would be to, of course, for the guest to interrupt the host, which would just be ludicrous. That honestly, to come into my home and to spit in my face like that. Luke came up to me and slapped my face with a glove. Regardless, another aspect of the return to Isathil, which has been interesting, is, like you mentioned, that separation between artists and the students, which is not only a weird thing for a trip to Isathil, it's a weird thing for a trip. Yeah, if, like, not only are you doing a, like, twist on the location and the setting, but also in the structure. And it seems like y'all are going to be going on for a little bit in Isathil this time around. Because not only do you have Celty stuff, you also have the actual assignment that they were here for originally. Not to mention even finding artists.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a long road.
There's a lot that can be done. And something that I found in Faint of Heart, and I don't know if I'm entirely happy with how I'm doing it, is this, like, ties back around. So just, like, stay with me here for a second. With Faint of Heart and Forward, or I guess maybe even Shake and Break Forward, I started realizing that I can just throw as many plates as I want to at the players or the students, and see how many they can juggle before one starts to break, right? Before they start dropping them, which is very fun. That became a thing very fun that became like a very big thing in Faint of Heart with like that, like a plate smashing on the ground as Mira getting her arm bit off by Nesca, which derailed the entirety of what I had kind of envisioned for the arc, and it made it much better than what I had ever planned. And so I've tried to carry that, and then we had like a really chill arc that I'm not super happy with, the Scandal, and then with this one I've again tried to just keep throwing things at them. So they have like the Artis plot of like, where is Artis? Is our mentor even going to show up? They have the reason Artis even wanted to bring them to Isathil again in the first place, which was to speak to a marsh spirit, which I don't think anyone wrote down, or if they might not recall, I'm not entirely certain, but I'm not going to correct them because it's fun that way, that they have this misinterpretation. Because there's a moment when they're talking with Celti, or maybe just afterwards, where they think Ferdinand is the person that they were supposed to meet up with. And so for me, that was just a delightful experience that they've just concatenated these two ideas together.
It's incredible. I'm honestly here for it. Now, here's my question, though, is when you talk about lots of plates being in the air and then one drops, are you choosing to drop the plate? You know?
Okay, that's interesting. I feel like a big criticism that I would have of myself is that I'm like too in favor of the students doing well, right? To the point that it can sometimes become a little boring. Just because I'm like, oh, I really want them to succeed. And I have to like stop myself and realize like, no, them failing would be more fun. It would be more dramatic. I don't know. So I don't throw these plates at them hoping they'll drop them. It's almost like I'm throwing them at them, I'm throwing a plate at them, and I just want to see how they catch it almost, right? And I just want to see them catch it in a cool way, right? Like I'm like it's like seeing someone be like, do a flip, like do a kick flip, right? And it's like, that was awesome, right? Do another one. That's the best way I could describe it.
So your DMing style for like folks at home who may want, maybe thinking about starting D&D campaign of their own, the style to go for is, hey, throw plates up in the air, throw them at your players. Yep. And that's the way to get things
100%,
done here.
100%. It can result in a lot of mess when things come like just hurtling together. Like when all those lines kind of just come to a single point, it can be very fun.
Yeah, especially when it's a lot of things that, one of my favorite things from this batch of episodes was the callback to the ivory masked woman. When they're meeting Ava, or Ava, excuse me, Ava. I'm sorry. When they meet Ava, and it's like, oh, this person who may or may not be Ferdinand, is wanted by not only Celti, but also by this other person. And it's like these different lines coming together in a way that makes sense. If they're that much of a menace to like different groups, they probably have more than one person coming after them.
The thing that I wanted to do, because I really have been thinking hard ever since Jake and Break about what I wanted to do with the ivory masked woman. And this is kind of like a really big peek behind the scenes in that 99% of the time when I put hooks out there, I really don't know where they're going to lead to. And then like, it's essentially, this arc has been really good for me setting things up that I actually have good plans for. Like the first, like I think every single episode sets up something that I have a nice plan for. And so I knew a couple months ago what I wanted to do with the ivory masked woman, and
what was
coming to be that's coming into it right now. I'm not going to tell you. Stay tuned. But if you go back and listen to the episodes, like The Amazing Race and Toil and Trouble and stuff, and even I think what was last week's episode? The mole one. What was it?
I'm sorry. Shoot, the fact that you can't remember it also has me unable to remember it.
Oh, lighthearted. So like,
lighthearted.
If you listen to the first couple of episodes when they're entering into Isathil, I kept having specifically Mira and Integrity making perception checks, and they weren't rolling super stellar, and so they rolled okay. and they would hear like the sound of cracking of wood. And I think in a metagame sense, they thought, one, we're in a forest, so that's probably that. That's not so much metagaming. But two, there was lines from like Ira where she was like, don't like be careful listening to like the woods because it sounds like the woods warping and bending. So I think they're like mixing those signals even subconsciously of like, oh, this must be related to that. And then I was, as like their roles got a bit better, I think I even described to Integrity that you hear the like groaning of ropes and the splashing of big waves, right?
I remember
And
that.
I never ever made Serenep or Winsler make those checks, which I thought was like, obviously from my perspective, it's really indicative of what's coming. But I really liked that, like me showing this is coming down the pipes, and then it shows up, and it's way fun.
It's showing the barrel of the gun.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's very much like showing it. And I'm also, as a listener, very excited for what this means. Also, like, I really enjoy playing, and I don't know if this is an intention in doing that, but playing off of the division between those who like are in the orb shit heavily and those who are not. Like, so really having those two do that perception check while the other two just couldn't, it wasn't even an option for them, is a minor way in gameplay to really drive home that division in a very subtle way. But I wanted to say I appreciated that. Yeah. Great work, as always.
I'm glad.
But
oh, thank you.
No, I always enjoy your work. You know that.
I appreciate that. Anytime anyone says I'm doing a good job, whether it be a player, I think if it comes from one of my players, it is very meaningful to me. And then coming from listeners of the show or people that are close to me, even, it's like, it's still meaningful to me, but in like a smaller way, especially a lot of time because that comes over text. And so like a lot of the emotion behind it can be lost. But when I get to have conversations with people who do listen to the show and they're like, oh, you did a good job with this thing, it's like, oh, thank you. Like, that means quite a bit, right? And I've been trying to get better at like just taking those compliments and being like, yeah, thanks, I did do a good job, didn't I?
Oh, I get you. Oh. And gosh, I don't know. There is naturally, we are discussing like 4 episodes.
Yes.
And a lot has happened in that span of 4 episodes. And we want to make sure that we like are able to hit a lot of the broad stroke stuff. Like the biggest thing. So my main question, and this is mostly from episode 113. Yeah. Which you remember what happens in 113, right?
Yes, I do. Strongly.
Okay. What happens?
That's the one right after. So 112 ends with like the introduction of, or like that reveal of like Sarah being like, is it this person? Is it this person? Is it this person? And be like, oh, sorry, I'll stop immediately after guessing who it was going to be, right? Which just delighted me to no end. I really love when my players guess stuff. Like, they're so amazing.
It feels so good.
Sam is amazing at that. It's scary. Sam will just...
So I've heard.
Like,
Sarah tells me...
Yeah.
That like entire whole like plot beats and everything,
entire
like that.
Arcs. In the past, this is a super tangent, and I apologize. I'll go through this quickly. But in the past, it'll be like, oh, let's do this. We used to play big 8-hour sessions, etc., on like Saturdays when we could all meet in person and lived in the same town together. And
Sounds like the days.
Yeah, it was good days.
Yeah.
And I would organize or spend all Friday night writing like a fun one shot, and then roll in Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. We would get 20 minutes into it, and Sam would be like, hey, this is what's going to happen, isn't it? I'd be like, ha, 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 no, right? And it was always just like, it was never with malevolent intent. It was just like oh, this would be really cool. And I was like, ha, ha, like,
yeah, it's never
alarms.
Like, I would leave the table right now if it turns out that, Yellum was like a bad guy through and through. That would really break my heart.
Yeah. No, it's never been something like that. It's Sam genuinely.
No, it's much more like,
oh, if I wrote this story, this is what I would do. And then it's like, oh my God, please get out of my brain. But yeah, sorry. And then so 113 is them just having that quick conversation with Ava in the mud, and then that fucking hilarious grung who's crying next to them. The grung just cry and squeal, and that's a delightful
I love
thing
the grung.
for me.
Hey, this is a real show question that I wrote down in preparation for this, which was, I did prep for this. Don't sound excited. Don't sound surprised that I did prep.
I'm just happy that we naturally came across questions that you already prepared for.
Oh,
that shows your amazing host instincts.
All right, well, we're definitely cutting that. That does. not even blooper quality. And so, no, when talking about the grung, it actually made me wonder because a funny thing kept on happening, and I enjoy like doing bits as a DM. As a DM, one of the best things that you can do is like
100%.
put a funny character in front of a player and just go wild, or like give them one note and then have them hit that note over and over again.
Yep.
Like have a culture and then have like their society have a funny thing about it. Because then it becomes so much more like fun to listen to and interact with. It's engaging.
Yeah.
Was the frog stuff.
Yeah.
Which was, no, don't call us frogs. How dare you call us frogs? This is the worst. We are not that. So the grung obviously have that issue with being called frogs. Is that a wider thing in Isathil with all of these different talking animals? Where like, are the moles actually called something different?
Okay, so there's a couple of things where the answer to that is yes. I would say just blanket generally within Isathil at least. No, like talking, like if there was a talking goose, it would be a talking goose, right? Like the speaker for the first exam, for example, I don't think would take insult with being called a talking goose because that is an accurate description of who they are.
Right.
The moles, I also think are like they call it Mount Mole Baron. They are very into being called moles. The bee folk, right? We call them bees. There's a name that I gave them in my notes. I think it's come up a couple of times where people have referenced them as like the trodden folk, which would be their like proper title. But I also don't know. I think that the bees never. See, I just called them the bees. I don't think they would ever take great insult at being called the bees, though, right?
Then in that case, are the grungs the only ones who actually get offended?
So specifically with the grung, or I guess it is the grungs. That's a fun thing. I have a horrible time of getting like the plural version of a lot of very big D&D stuff right because it's supposed to be grungs, and then I just kept calling them the grung. But so they have just this really fun name, and on a whim, I was thinking about before we went to Isathil, what would this grung culture be like? Because I knew they were going to be here in this marsh. And I was like, what if it's just wildly like violent, purely based on like this person is bigger or smaller than me? That determines where they fit in this hierarchy. Because we had a similar thing with that in Patter, where it was like there was very small earth elementals and then very massive like 16-foot earth elementals, right?
Isathil is something I appreciate about it. I'm sorry for interrupting. Give me a quick second to compliment, which is I love how Isathil seems to be an exploration of scale in a lot of many different ways, whether that is size or like the available like variety of colors that are available in the natural world.
Yes.
Like just you basically just cause everything to expand of what is possible, and it's just like our world.
Yeah.
Which now that I say that, it just sounds like an incredibly generic fantasy like world, which is like, oh, it's everything, but to the extreme.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what it is, right? Like, I think my first original note for Isathil was like, nature, vibrant, super saturated. I think I wrote saturated like 6 times in my initial like notes for Isathil, but it's definitely like if it's like everything has more limbs or more of something than you would expect. Celti signs are written in every single possible language and are like 6 feet long because there's so many different languages that she's written them in. Like, it's just like taking things to their maximum absurdity almost, right? Like, this tree's not one tree, it's 1,000 trees combined to be one tree. Like silly things.
It's
and there's a lot of fun in that. But with the grung, they're this just absurdist kind of interpretation of this animal hierarchy that would be present in like not frogs per se, but other animals, where it's like, oh, there's this small and most clever of us is our leader, and we all hate him, but he's our leader, right? Which then there's an immediate fun return on that, where Loud then says, oh, he's been dead. Like, I killed that idiot, right? Like, to Loud, this is just some dumb little frog, right? Yeah. And so, but the actual nomenclature of grung comes from, I think it's exposited a few times as a joke. Comes from the 9th eldest Grungwar, right? And they're the chosen people of Grungwar, which is why they're the grung.
I think Grungwar was mentioned a little bit. I remember that.
It was mentioned the first grung that we meet, like that little bridge keeper, I guess, who like cries and squeals and proclaims that the witch
That's
beat
the
them
one
at-
that was
yeah, who then says, by the law of Grungwar sets the laws, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and then it's
That was specifically the one that I was thinking of because you do
Yeah.
a very specific voice for it that I cannot emulate.
Yeah, those voices for the grung are what I would deem my bread and butter. I've avoided using a lot of squealy voices and shrill voices, which are the ones that I find the most fun to do, just because one, we record a couple of episodes at a time and they really destroy your voice, and two, it can just be unlistenable sometimes in audio. But in our home games, when I would run stuff, very often we would encounter very small creatures with high-pitched, shrill, shrieky voices to the point where like my entire face would be turning red by the end of sentences by just
Good
like the
lord.
volume. It's just so fun. And again, since it's Isathil, it ties back into that, like the little grung tree frogs are going to speak like this because how else would they speak? This is just the only way I could imagine them speaking.
That's totally fair. Now, give us a peek behind the screen. What other animals are out there that are like, very cool like the grung are?
What other animals? Peeking behind the curtain, I find for myself can be often disappointing. Seeing how the sausage gets made can often lead you astray, as it were.
What?
A lot of
You mean that
stuff-
there's... Wait a minute, Luke. You mean you weren't prepared for that incredibly weird question that I asked you?
I
You mean
have
I'm putting you on
ideas.
the spot with this right now?
No, you're not super. I mean, I don't have the I have fundamental ideas, right? Like I have informal ideas that I've just
Right.
like things that rush into your head when you're doing other stuff, right? About like, oh, this would be a fun thing for Isathil. I think something that I want to explore is like, what about vegetation people, right? Like there's dryads and like we saw a treant, right? And so like, what about those people, right? Who are they in this wild and wacky plane?
Hey,
These trees are out here sneezing and bonking Serenep on the head and making her grow a little plant out of her head. Like, what's going on with that, you know?
you want a fun time? You call up some myconids?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you, listen, I have like, there's this guy that I know that's one, and he is a fun guy. Let me tell you, that's a great joke for
Ben has a joke about mushrooms that he
Oh.
likes to make, which is where he goes, did you know there's a mushroom you could feed to someone and it would feed him for the rest of his life? And then he just sits there and looks at you until you get
Yeah,
it.
no, I get
And
it.
anytime mushrooms come up, he'll make that joke. And I live in fear of the day I accidentally throw a mushroom onto the scene and Ben immediately makes that joke and then makes that joke because we're like, we forget what the fuck we say when we record. So very
Gotta
often
say
we
it
make
next
the
week.
exact same joke every single week. And then me editing, I'm like, oh my God, get some new material, everyone. Like
Incredible.
especially me, I make the same jokes. I'll be sitting and editing and then I'll make the same, I'll in my head like pause for a second and go get like water and be like, oh, it would be really funny if I said this, and then I'll play it and like I'll hear myself make the joke and laugh at my own joke, and I'm like, all right, I'm glad to know we're on like the same mental track here.
It was very weird when I was listening to the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I would often make the same jokes in my head at the same time as one of you all. It was an incredibly uncanny thing because it was like back in 2019 where we
Yeah.
hadn't really known each other very well yet.
Yeah.
So it was like very awkward to just be like, yeah, wow, I'm making these jokes. Really? I'm on the same wavelength with these people. I was wondering
Yeah.
if there's like a word for that. But regardless, something else that I wanted to ask you about, and I feel like we have a lot to speak on here, which is the character of Celti. Is just this huge looming shadow
Yes.
over this whole arc in a very fun way, where she has been this very supportive individual. Like Winsler literally was like, oh no, that's my grandma.
Yeah.
easiest,
multiple,
most convincing-
multiple times.
Lie that he could think of was, that is my grandma.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He
Which-
did that at the party where like the Jeed party, he was just like, oh, this is my grandma. When Loud was like, why are you here? He was like, oh, well, I'm doing a favor for my grandma, right? Like it was just the easiest lie to slip into. That's very interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, like, which is, I don't necessarily think that, unless you slipped Ben a note saying Winsler knows this is his grandma.
Nope.
It
never.
is it is much more of like something that seems like it may have started as like an easy, convincing lie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Winsler and Celty probably have, oddly enough, one of the strongest bonds between a player character and NPC on the show outside of like artists, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I strongly agree with that, right? And it started as Ben just wanting not to be left out. So he was like, I'll take that scale, right? Literally because nothing else in the store was like up his alley, and he just wanted to get something because everyone else was doing something too.
And that was not for sale, correct? And so you had to come
Exactly.
up with what it did?
Yeah. So my mind had already gone down this track of like, I forget if it was like immediately, I think I was like, oh, it's going to be your soul. Or if it was like the next episode that like thing kicked over. I forget. But it was kind of just like my brain just really wanting to like up the ante with it. And then it immediately became, anytime Ben has a crazy scheme, he goes, well, there's this one thing I'm going to need that's difficult to obtain. Might as well go to Celty, right? And it's beautiful and perfect to me.
Yeah.
And it has made a shockingly close bond between those two characters, right? Because Celty's never been like malevolent. Like the closest she's gotten is saying like, oh, I'm going to take your soul, but only after you die, but I'm not going to kill you for it. Like no worries there. And then this arc, when she's kind of like lost it a bit, understandably, her nemesis is here.
Which I wanted to get into, which was like Celty has always been like more or less, you know, not benevolent by any means, but the epitome of like, you know, just neutral. Like, hey, I'm here to make a buck, like, and my buck's, you know, currency is weird for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say that.
Absolutely.
And now we see her totally strung out. I wanted to talk. Was it difficult channeling into that because you are so used to playing Celty a certain way, or is it just like, oh, it's unhinged but with like a different flavor to it now?
I cannot describe to you how the Celty came about in that episode, Nathan. We started those sessions, and just like my mood was really good those two episode recordings at the start of the arc. Like there's a noticeable change in energy from the episode where I introduced the fact that Ira is missing, and then the next episode where we pick up, which is just where in the world is Ira Laro, I am immediately like completely different energy and everything's way more frantic. And that's just because I was in a good mood, right? Which affects how I DM. And then that carried on for the next couple of episodes. And then so we got to Celty and I just went insane with it, I guess. Or like just...
You really fucking did. You went all out.
Just went into it, right? And to the point where I was like, I just kept going. I did not intend for that scene to be that long at all, or like that much information be conveyed. Like we literally just got, like there was a moment where I just sat there like spewing out, like trying to think of a way to continue. And then that stayed in the episode because I was just doing this weird witchy, like a peg in a hole, right? Like, and it just kept going, right? And so the interesting thing with that is it wasn't difficult for me to like change up who Celty was going to be so much, because I already knew that I've known about Ferdinand for a long time. I came up with the character Ferdinand around episode 2 of Whiteout. So a long time ago, which is the same time I came up with the old chapel, or maybe like right after, like around the end of Pitter Patter and before the start of Whiteout is when I woke up at like 3 a.m. sweaty, grabbed my post-it notes that I kept next to my bed and like drew the map of the old chapel and wrote down like snakes and oozes and Ferdinand. Ferdinand's not relevant to the old chapel, but I just had the idea in the same like headspace. And so she's just been living rent-free in my head for all that time. So I knew the effect that she would have on Celty. And then that can kind of like let you cement, here's what this character would be thinking about in this moment. And this is a kind of way that I'm personally trying to change the style that I'm DMing, or at least prepping for DMing, which is instead of prepping out events and having it be event oriented, in the past with really complicated arcs, I'll be unhappy with how it goes because I feel like it's event oriented and we're not hitting the kind of triggers that I was anticipating for the events. So they're going off in a way that I'm not perfectly happy with. So instead, especially with starting with like Faint of Heart, because it was just Nesca that I was prepping for, I was like, what are Nesca's goals here? And what is she doing? and then additionally like the Pebble stuff that was like kind of the subplot for that arc. And like,
speaking of Pebble
Yeah.
stuff, I made my appearance for the first time. I haven't even
Oh,
mentioned
yes,
yet
you
that I
did.
was. I'm Canon Nathan. Hello,
it's you.
It's me. As you can tell, I sound exactly like how Luke voices me.
Sarah really fucking like, oh, you guys, you two. They told me, hello audience. I asked Nathan, what do you want? Do you want me to just do an impression of you? And then Nathan said, no, do a Blam impression. And I was like, who the fuck is Blam? And then Sarah and Nathan both sent me something that was like Blam audio. Nathan did the Blam voice, and then Sarah sent me the video, like a video of Blam, which is that a real thing? Or is that like a joke thing?
No, that was all right. So that joke,
Yeah.
absolute joke.
Yeah.
All right, to fill in the gaps on what
Sorry,
Luke is
yes.
talking about. Long story short, well, the very long story is we made jokes about me being canon to Trials and Trebuchets for ages, long before the Patreon was even a thought.
Correct. Well, no, not actually.
I know,
Patreon
I know.
existed at that time. We just kept it on the hush hush.
Yeah, you kept it on the real hush hush.
Yeah.
Anywho, I kept on asking to be a character who would be the canon version of Nathan, aka Canon Nathan with one N. And then
Canonical.
Yeah, exactly. And then we learn, oh wait, is his name just Canon Nathan?
Yep.
And I say yes, it is, because he uses cannons now. He is an artillerist who specializes in cannons, in fact. So then Patreon got announced. I was able to make the character, and then Luke had
it was the first kind of, it's not a joke character because I don't view Canon Nathan as a joke character.
Nor do I.
But it was like the least serious character at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, are we really doing this? I was really stressed out about it, but I'm happy with how it turned out.
I'm happy that you're happy with how it turned out. If it, like, I noticed at the $25 tier where you can pledge, it's, it'll say like under Luke's discretion or like something like that, where
Yes.
you'll make the changes that you need to.
Yeah.
But regardless, this caused Luke to face a very difficult thing, which was, of course, mimicking my voice. Luke, can you do a me impression right now?
Luke, can you do a me impression right now?
See, now we sound very similar.
I think I can get your like cadence or patter down, but I can't nail down your voice very well.
No, it's okay. Yeah. We definitely don't sound alike, though, do we?
I hope not, or else this is just going to sound like we're talking. It's one person talking to themselves.
Oh God, we've got to get someone else to listen to this before we actually put it out. Anyways,
so then the joke became.
So then the joke became, oh, I'll do a funny voice to Luke. That way he will feel even more lost. And then he decided to use the Blam voice
because I thought it was serious. And then we had recorded those episodes, and then I think Sarah made some we made some allusion to Nathan that was like, oh, that Blam voice, ha ha ha. And then Nathan was like, that was a joke, right? Don't do that voice. When you record those episodes, don't do that voice. And I immediately messaged Sarah like, what, right? Like, I didn't know. And then the episodes came out, and I was terrified that you were going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
And what did I say?
I think you said, what the fuck is wrong with you, Luke?
Damn right I did. I hated that voice, and that's why Canon Nathan hasn't shown up and never will.
Canon Nathan, I was ideally going to have them at the first episode of this arc, actually, where we were in the headmaster ceremony, because every student was there.
Yeah. I was about to scold
so
you for getting off topic, but no, that's on topic, unless we are sticking with these 4 episodes.
Oh, it's the first episode, so I feel like there's not really a big issue with talking about everything. We were talking about Celti, so we can come back to that real fast. I remember the tangents. I'm getting much better at remembering my little bracketed tangents. Anyways, Canon Nathan, a lot of the other patron, the two other Patreon NPCs even make like a cameo appearance in that episode, which is Syndra and then Kyra, who I want to do a lot more with, and also Canon Nathan, who I do want to do a lot more with. It's difficult for me.
He's very charming.
Yeah, it's difficult for me with the Patreon NPCs because I do want to develop them, but I also don't want to only focus on them and make it feel like I'm only doing Patreon NPC stuffs. Because 1, I don't want that to be the way that the show goes, and 2, It's just not, because I have ideas for NPCs too. I want to do NPCs.
Yeah.
But it's like essentially people have handed me NPCs on a silver platter and they're all amazing and I want to do something fun with them, but I'm just very slow at doing those things.
It's like having a bunch of chauffeurs who are student drivers for a lot of people.
Yes.
Where like, and I'm sorry if that analogy does not make the most sense.
I get the intent of what you're saying.
You know how you like to be driven. And for a lot of people, like they are, they're having fun with it. Like I'm sure that you've gotten other characters, like not necessarily as absurd as Canon Nathan, who is literally like breaking the fourth wall just with the name. But like I'm sure that you've gotten like weird ones,
I would say that on average, everyone has been really good about it. There's only been 2 times that I've had to actually send someone a message and be like, hey, what's the verdict with this stuff? And some people even reach out to me through Discord and say, just start asking me a bunch of questions about like character creation. That's happened a fair amount of times, actually, just because a lot of people, because I think that there's a really high crossover between the people that are likely to pledge at that tier and the people who care deeply about my arbitrary rules for characters, that I think are a lot more fleshed out than people, or are a lot less fleshed out than people think they are, because I won't start thinking about a lot of the questions people have until they even ask me, and then I will earnestly work with that person to make something that I'm happy with and that they're happy with that will still fit in my world. So if you, a person listening to this, has ever messaged me and I've given what seems like a concrete response to a character building question, I made it up likely as you asked it to me because I thought that was a really good answer and a clever question. But yeah, I haven't had to exercise like that under Luke's discretion kind of thing very often, which is good. Anyways, that tangent's over. Back to like the Faint of Heart thing, where we were talking about Canon Nathan made his first appearance.
But we were mostly talking about
how
Nesca was the main thing.
Yes. Nesca was the singular villain or like antagonist of that arc. I intended her to be a really big villain, and it was great, and I love playing Nesca. Miss her, can't wait for her to come back. And so with that, there was just so much downtime on the player's behalf, which was necessary, and I think paced out really well, because this horrible thing had just happened, right? And like we had been going at a really really fast clip for a while without these students or these characters getting a nice break in character to like process everything. And there was a lot of nice drama that arose from that. But because there was so much downtime, I was like, what the fuck is Nesca doing on her time, right? Because she's not operating on like the episode's schedule or like the player's schedule. She has goals and is trying to achieve those every second of every minute of every day, which was hunting down her orb, right? Which she achieved, right? Slightly, like it was a Pyrrhic victory, so she didn't like get to keep it at the end, which would have been the premium super win for Nesca, but we still got really close to that, which was awesome. And so that kind of like character goal oriented prep has kind of carried over into this current arc really strongly, because there's a lot of characters that are in this little constellation, and the way that they are interacting with each other is like weird and confusing. Like I know I've had conversations with a couple of the players about Celti wants Ferdinand, but so does the Ivory Masked Woman, and so does Loud. And so couldn't ostensibly Loud and the Ivory Masked Woman just team up and get Ferdinand, right?
Right.
Or couldn't Loud team up with Celti? I think that was even addressed in episode of like, oh, why don't you team up with Celti? And
it
Loud's
was
selfish and doesn't want to do that. He already killed Ferdinand. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to wait around. He wants her dead now again, right? And this is like a vengeance, right? This isn't about patience or anything else. And then Celti is kind of, so it's like an interesting little web, and these characters have their own goals and reasons for wanting Ferdinand. And the only way I could really prep for that is because everything is so based on who are these players going to side with, right? Because obviously Winsler's going to try to side with Celti, except for those moments where he was thinking about double crossing her. He might still try to double cross her. We haven't recorded episode 114. I have no idea.
You're never going to know with Ben until he's actually there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Rolling the dice, telling you what he's going to do.
In the moment, Ben flips a coin in his head and goes, oh, this is what we'll do.
that was heavily explored in the players section of C&C. Was, hey,
Yeah.
Ben, you're a force of chaos. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
But-
I love that so much about them. And my only
talking about-
so yeah, sorry. I almost got right way off track again.
It's
And
okay.
so because I have these different characters with their different goals, and I want it to interact in a very I want it to come together into one of those like point, like all the threads come together into like one single point. And I want to do that very cleanly, even though this has kind of been it's been messy and it's been the most D&D feeling that the game's felt in a while, because it's just the players being like, what decision do we make?
Because
right,
because they got separated from artists. Like
exactly, yeah.
you
I had a plan. I genuinely had a plan for how Artist was going to get like separated from them. That was to do with the Lodge of the Lost and some stuff. He wasn't going to be in any danger this arc. Like straight up, Artist was going to be safe as hell this arc, and he was just
going to be in a little
separated from
daycare.
them.
He was going to be in a little daycare away
Yeah.
from everyone else.
He was going to be hanging out with
poor
Melon
dad.
and doing some other stuff.
He's so dead, isn't he? Oh, now that he has been dropped off at the daycare, he's dead. He's a dead elf walking.
Instead, he's on campus, and it's been a lot of hours, and he should be here by now. But he's not. And I think I think that my current thoughts is we're recording this Wednesday. We're recording this episode of C&C Wednesday. We're recording episode 114 and 115 this coming Sunday. And so my current thought, don't tell anyone, Nathan, is that I think I might show my hand at what Artist is up to a little bit, because I think that's dramatically fun.
I'm interested to hear how you would do that.
Yeah, because
But
I've only done
Thank
that
you
once
for
ever.
that little spoiler nugget.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I mean, that's what you took the hosting position for, right? Was to get all the spoilers.
It's exactly what I. By the time we release this, it won't be a spoiler anymore, and so that's why they're also going to.
I've only done it once before, where I think twice, but one was actually through a mechanical reason, where I show the players what's happening elsewhere. And one of those times, the time it happened through a like decent mechanical reason, was when the progenitor touches Integrity on her forehead and shows her what Faramel's up to, right? And he's like doing that stuff with the frozen plants. And then the only other time is the very end of Pitter Patter, when at the end of 2 hours of recording and technical difficulties, I was trying to like be a bit dramatic and have some flair, and everyone was just like, Luke, wait, what's happening? Luke, are we leaving? Why? No, what's happening? I was like, please let me do this, right? Like, and I just showed what was happening with like Faramel taking Kreska. And, yeah.
Which that's the stuff that I am like when thinking about the return to Isathil. That is the Faramel stuff in particular. That's a shoe waiting to drop.
Yes,
and I'm nervous for it.
I strongly agree with you. I mean, there's a reason why I put that in. I mean, you brought this up earlier, and I thought it was a very good observation, which is the distinction between Integrity and Mira, who are heavily involved with orb business, whether they want to be or not, and then Serenepth and Winsler, who are heavily involved with like witch and other stuff business, whether they want to be or not. And Serenepth's kind of disconnected from that, kind of. She's getting pulled in, and I'm happy with that.
I do like her though as a grounding presence.
Yes,
because we have only known these students when they're wrapped up in orb business.
Yep.
Except for Serenepth, who came in and is just like, "What's up? We're not talking about orbs for a little bit. That's going to come up later. Right now, we have to." What did they do right after Serenepth got there?
They did their like preliminary dueling, like the spring dueling session, and got a mentor, and then immediately went off to Isathil, and it was a horrible time for Serenepth.
Exactly. Horrible time, but no orbs.
So yeah, there's two distinct groups here. One being the people who have ties strongly to Isathil, where Serenepth has this like traumatic memories of like everything in Patter, as well as her adorable pet Virgil, who is literally from Isathil, right? So she's tied to Isathil, and now she's been bonked on the head and is growing a little plant in her head. More on that later. And then of course Winsler with the witches stuff, right? So those two are tied very strongly to Isathil, whereas Mira and Integrity have ties to Isathil, obviously, but more strongly their ties are with Shiora and the orbs. And so putting the intersection of those two plot lines in their path was very intentional, with this is magical frost, right? Wonder what that could be, you two.
Right.
And then immediately they're like, okay, we need to get, this is a big fucking deal, right? And yeah, that's something that I've given a lot of thought to and am excited to see how it turns out. My conception of what to do with Fairmel has changed drastically throughout time, but I feel like I have a really concrete idea and time frame for what I'm going to do with him.
Real life time frame or
Oh,
like,
absolutely not. I have a horrible. I have
I was about to say that's
given up
that's a
almost
fool's
entirely.
errand.
Yeah, I've given up entirely on trying to estimate when arcs will end or when things will happen. I didn't know this arc would be going into like episode 10 or something, and we wouldn't. I think we're maybe halfway, unless things fucking kick off going from here forward. We might be halfway. So
I don't know if whistling is allowed on podcasts.
absolutely, it's allowed. I'll just make it quieter. Sarah whistles very often, actually,
Oh, nice. That's cute.
like in the background and stuff.
yeah,
You dork.
just
So,
a bit. Anywho,
we should probably be wrapping up a bit soon.
no, that's
so-
actually what I was going to say as well. I was going to do like a really good transition there, and then I got cut off. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
regardless, no, I'm
That's the way
messing
things
around.
go.
You could tell that was a lie. Though I do appreciate you spending this time with me, Luke. Thank you so much for joining me for for the first actually.
Yeah.
I've already gotten into the rhythm, so it feels like we've been doing this forever. But thank
Yeah.
you for actually joining me here and sliding into the DMs.
It's been a pleasure.
Can we expect to see you next time?
Yeah, of course. I'll be here every single time. Hopefully, unless
That's right.
something horrible happens.
We are This is the part of the talk show with one guest, only one guest,
It's just
for 90 minutes.
it's you trying to guess at what was going on in my head with all these things, and you answering these questions and being like, "Now I think this is how Luke would answer this."
Yeah,
That
who's to
sounds fun
say?
me.
Regardless,
Yeah.
thank you all so much for joining me. And also, I want to say this as we're wrapping up. The most important thing is to thank our patrons. That is the only reason that we have this show. It is like y'all are the reason that I was able to come on and help with
Yep.
this. I know, Luke, this has been an idea of yours for some time now, right?
I really enjoy hearing people talk and do table talk shows. It's one of the
Same.
small joys, like the little behind the scenes. It's just so fun. I love it. I adore it. And so yeah, it was something that I wanted to do. As soon as we made the Patreon like a formal thing, I was like, I'm adding this as a $500 tier. And I didn't really get approval from anyone else in the same way that I did for the other stuff. I was just like, I'm putting it there and we'll figure it out because it'll probably be like 7 years before we have to make it. And now we're here and we're making it and I'm super excited.
I'm excited as well. I appreciate that you have chosen me to go on this journey with you
Yeah.
as we explore what goes on in the future. And if you're listening to this and you're not a patron, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Get on over there. Go become a patron. If you can afford it, it's fine. If
Yes.
or if you want to. If you don't want to,
Yeah.
hey, I think
This is the best promo.
I realized
this is
that
the
I-
best promo. I love this
no,
promo.
this is the best promo. This is the best promo because I'm specifically just going, hey, do this, but only if you feel like it.
Yes,
It
yeah,
is
absolutely.
both.
That's the
is, like, the
giant
most-
disclaimer, the giant asterisk next to us saying it is obligatory for you to become a patron. Like Ben making that joke at the end of every episode. The disclaimer there is, if you cannot afford to do this, don't. Literally don't
Yeah.
do it. It's not worth it.
Literally don't want it on our conscience.
Yeah.
Um,
Your support means the world to us. We can make shows like this. We can afford equipment. We can afford hosting fees, which with the introduction of this show have shot through the roof. We can afford to fix technology when it breaks, which after doing this show for 2 years has happened. Like stuff just freaking breaks and problems pop
Yeah.
up where you don't expect them to. And paying for that out of pocket is difficult, which is what I did for the first year. Sarah and I mostly paid for the first year of the show, and it's just I'm at my limit for time and the amount of money that I can put into the show. So everyone supporting it really makes it possible for it to be like this stress-free escape for all of us, and that's just so appreciated. And the least we can do is try to give back to you with stuff like this, which this show brought to you like by the patrons. If you enjoy this, it thank them, right? Or become a patron. That's the only thing
Exactly.
to be said, really.
And if you have something that you want to pass on to me, any feedback, this show is still very much in its infancy. That we could like change aspects of it if necessary. Not necessarily that we're going to change it exactly as you described.
I hate the host.
I hate the host. Yeah, no.
Don't say that one. I won't.
is-
No, that one's banned. Don't say that one to them.
No, the host is here for the next 5 episodes, and then we're reevaluating it. But no, for real though, if you do have feedback, feel free to comment under the Patreon post that contains this episode. Because I assume there will be one, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
you do one for the regular episodes, right?
Patreon? No,
I was
not
thinking
the
of
regular
Discord.
episodes on Patreon.
But I mean, it's still going to go up on Patreon, right?
Oh yeah, this will go up early on Patreon. So if you want to hear this early, like as soon as it gets edited, I'll post it up on Patreon. And then probably like within a reasonable time frame, I'll post it on the regular feed for the people to hear. Like probably before the next episode comes out. So whatever that time frame looks like. But if you have feedback for the show, you can leave it on Patreon, patreon.com/trialsandtrebs. If you're a patron, you can leave it on our
And
Discord, which
I was
there's
about
a
to
link
say.
to in the description of all of our episodes. You could leave it on social media at Trials and Trebs on Instagram and Twitter.
Is there anything left?
No,
So you already mentioned the
that's it.
Discord, the Patreon,
Yeah, that's
the
everything.
Twitter, the Instagram.
Instagram.
We don't own the subreddit. That's fan made.
That's fan made. If you want to go to a lawless wasteland, I guess you could go there.
Yeah.
It's kind of
But-
inactive though.
Feel free to reach out. And if you don't have Patreon, you can reach out to me on the Trials and Trebuchets Discord as well. Trust me, I will be easy to find there.
Yeah.
So, thank you for joining us on this inaugural episode of Conversations and Catapults. I have been your host, Nathan,
I've been your guest, Luke.
and that's how it's always going to be on this bitch of an earth. See you next week.
Bye.